panic, hyperventilating, sweating, stressing, heaving. Do these things at all remind you of anything? No, I'm not talking about the cushion to be pushing. I'm talking about the feeling most people get while being chased. If you're at all familiar with my channel, then you'll know that being chased is the one thing in horror games I can't handle. Oh, oh shit, it's fast. Today, I'll be talking about Roblox Pressure, a survival horror game less basic than Rainbow Friends and much more terrifying than Doors. So, come with me, and you'll be a convict stuck under the fucking ocean. Hold up, Dexter. What do you mean, a convict? I'm a good little 8-year-old white boy from the suburbs. I would never even think of committing a crime. Sometimes I stay up a few minutes past my bedtime playing Roblox on my Dorito-smeared screen-covered iPad, but who hasn't done that? Calm down, little dude. I'm not talking about you literally. In Pressure, you play as a convict. We're told that our crime and length of sentence is irrelevant, which I find a little odd, but I'm going to do my best to ignore the fact that just because I stole the Adam and Eve box out of my hot neighbor's mailbox to get a peek inside, immediately means in this prison's eyes that I'm on the same level as the guy who just committed triple homicide. Stupid. There wasn't even anything fun in that package. It was just a teddy bear, and I gave it back, so I don't even know what the big deal is. But alas, we're told that there is a very important mission that we can volunteer to go on. There's a mysterious underwater facility called the Hadal Black Site, which is known to be operated by an organization called Urban Shade. We're told there's a crystal that looks like a lump of dump deep inside the facility, and if we can make it through 100 rooms, and if we can take the crystal and collect documents along the way, we will have the remainder of our prison sentence terminated and will be allowed to walk free, along with a hefty sum of money on top of that. We're told straight out of the gate that we are expendable, and that they have very low confidence that we'll be returning, but we're not told why. Plenty of inmates signed up, and so did we. I personally signed up because I thought I would get killed in prison if I pissed off another inmate, so I ate his butt. Turns out that just made him like me a little bit too much. He didn't sign up, so I did, just so that I could get away from him. Luckily, I did actually. On the way out, I saw him walking back from the commissary with an entire bed sheet full of bars of soap. So I get the feeling I made the right decision. What'd you sign up for? Oh, right, you can't answer. You're watching a video. All right, cool. Anyways, we board a submarine and descend into the water towards Black Site. Not knowing what awaits us, we assume this will be a walk in the park. But spoiler alert, moron, it won't be. When you're choosing a sub to board, you'll notice that they're labeled with numbers. Pressure actually allows you to play with other people, but in my personal opinion, I wouldn't recommend playing with more than 3. 2 people already can get a bit frustrating, and I'll explain why later. I usually only played by myself because then I could be a selfish little greedy hobgoblin. Before you exit the submarine and actually start a run, you will be given the option to buy items. Note that you won't see the shop on your first playthrough, but every playthrough afterwards. In this store, you can buy stuff like a flashlight, a lantern, and a code breacher. I'll explain the items more in detail later. You will get currency by making it through rooms and by picking up documents during your runs. As stated before, the goal of the game is to make it through 100 rooms. What's so hard about that, you might be asking? Well, it's what's in the rooms that's the problem. In the first area, we're taught how to use keycards to open doors, and after we walk through, the run begins. Something you'll immediately notice is that Pressure feels very similar to another game I've covered on this channel, Spooky's Jump Scare Mansion, as each room is randomly generated, so there's a limit to how much you can memorize. As you walk through rooms, you'll be able to open desk drawers and lockers. Inside and on top of them, you'll be able to find documents, flash drives, and blue things. I don't know what these blue things are called, but I know they're blue, so they're blue things. Collecting these items gives you what I'm just going to call points because I don't know what they're actually called. The more points you get in a run, the more currency you'll get at the end to spend on purchases at the beginning of future runs and deeper into your current run, which I'll talk about later. You'll also notice larger lockers. When opening them, you'll be able to hide inside. Oh dear lord, you know what that means. It's time to talk about the threats that Pressure has to offer. Z-V06, codenamed Puddles of Void Mass, is probably going to be the first monster you'll encounter. It was the first monster that I encountered. In fact, I actually died to one in the first room I entered in the game on my first run ever. I played this game completely blind. I didn't look anything up, so I had no idea what anything was going into the game. The first room I entered, I went to check a locker and immediately died. So that was my introduction to Pressure, but anyways, Puddles of Void Mass will appear randomly inside of hideable lockers. They can also be found behind broken doors, but that's not very important. If you enter a locker with one inside, it will kill you, unless you're playing with other players. In that case, it will deal 20 damage to you and suck you in, continuously dealing damage to you until you die or until another player rescues you. You'll easily be able to tell if a void mass is in a locker by opening your f***ing eyes and looking at it. You will very clearly be able to see two purple eyes through the slits in the locker, letting you know they're there. Also, these purple eyes can be a few other colors. I didn't know that until doing research for this video. Additionally, standing next to the locker and listening, you'll be able to hear them breathing, but it's much easier to just use your eyes, and is much less time consuming. And time definitely matters when you need to hide, but what do you need to hide from? Z-283, codenamed the Angler. That's what you need to hide from. The Angler has several different variants that technically count as their own separate monster, but because they all function borderline the exact same way, we'll go over all of them now. Something each of them has in common is how you know they're on their way. Before attacking, most of the anglers will have the lights to the room you are in flicker briefly. This will let you know that the angler is on its way. When the angler gets close, you'll be able to hear it screech, and the camera will begin to shake. Once it starts shaking, you need to enter a locker immediately, as you will have almost no time after that. Once the angler is gone, you can come back out of the lockers, but there's some epic quirks about them to cover too. Pressure will have some rooms you enter be completely dark. The angler will not be able to spawn in these rooms. Most of the time, anglers will only spawn if the room you are in or the previous room had a hiding place, which is very generous and I appreciate. Remember how I mentioned the angler had variations? A few of them are similar, but I'd prefer to talk about the 3 that make me want to slam my penis in a car door. Let's start with pink, shall we? Here's some subtle foreshadowing for you. I hate pink more than I hate children on planes, and boy do I hate children on planes. Pinky decides to say "F you" to the normal rules of the angler. Pinky doesn't flicker your lights, and you'll have to rely entirely on sound cues. Something else really cool? The wiki for Pinky says that her audio cue plays much earlier than the other anglers. That's some bullshit. Every time I've dealt with Pinky, her sound cue plays a solid 2 seconds before she came to cream in my ass. So what's up with that, huh? The other angler variation that makes me cry and also caused me more deaths than any other monster in this game is Frogger. Oh my god. Frogger. Holy shit. Frogger. I'm gonna die. Frogger. I hate Frogger. She has a really unique and epic mechanic. Every variation of the angler has a slightly different look so that you can tell them apart. Each variation also has a different sound cue they play. But you'll be so stressed most of the time, you probably won't even be thinking about the sound. But the problem with their appearance is that it doesn't matter, because you're never going to have time to actually look at them. Because the moment you hear them, you're going to jump into a locker so fast it'll break the sound barrier. But what's the issue with not being able to see them apart? Great question. And the answer to that question is f***ing Frogger. God damn it, Frogger! Frogger works the same way as the normal angler, so the lights will flicker before she arrives. She rushes through the room like normal, but will then rebound. What does rebound mean? Well, look it up because it's a word in the dictionary. But for those of you who passed 5th grade English, when Frogger rebounds, she will rush back through the room again after a few seconds. I should add that once she rushes through the room the first time, her screaming sound cue will disappear, and when she rebounds, it will fade back in as she gets closer. The problem Well, since you won't be able to easily tell the difference between the anglers, when the screaming sound cue fades away, there's a high chance you'll think that it was just the fucking angler, and you'll step back and continue walking around, only for Frogger to say, "F you, bitch," and come back. Frogger has single-handedly ended more runs than any other monster in this game. Oh, and I'm not done yet. Frogger can rebound multiple times. Yeah, bullshit, I know. I've once had Frogger rush me, rebound again, and then rebound for a fourth time. Like, god damn, how am I supposed to get anything done around here in this bitch? But I need to relax. Let's talk about the last interesting angler variation, which technically isn't actually an angler, but it literally looks the same and functions borderline the same with one big difference, so I don't care, I'm calling him a variation. Pandemonium works the same as a normal angler, but instead of just passing the player once they hide, Pandemonium will force the player into a life or death minigame. While being attacked by Pandemonium, a small circle will appear in the center of your screen, and you'll be told to keep your mouse in the middle of the screen during the duration of the attack. Pandemonium will pound on the locker and jerk your mouse around violently like I do with my wiener, which can actually make this a pretty difficult task. I highly recommend playing Pressure with your mouth sensitivity low because it makes this minigame much easier. Obviously, if you fail the minigame, butthole buffet and you're on the menu. Wow, that took a while, and we're not even close to getting through all the monsters. Whoever I had edit this video, I'm so sorry. Let's continue. In my opinion, I feel like the next monster you'd likely find would be S-Q, codenamed Squiddles. By the way, the reason I'm using my opinion here is because Pressure is a randomized game. There's a chance that in all of your playthroughs you never encounter some of the monsters in the game. I know I haven't. And when we talk about those monsters, I'm going to have to find gameplay from other people encountering them because I don't have 10 hours a day to search and hope I find them. So that's fun. Anyway, Squiddles. Squiddles can only spawn in dark rooms. That includes rooms that were already dark and rooms that become dark, like when an angler runs through them. Squiddles are docile, meaning they won't attack you unless they're provoked. The only ways to provoke a Squiddle is either to shine a light at them or if you choose to stand near them for too long. There are a few light sources that won't aggro them, such as the flash beacon and blacklight. Now is also an important time to mention your health. Not all monsters in Pressure kill you when they attack. In fact, many will only deal damage to you instead. Squiddles deal a fairly large chunk of damage, but that's only fair given how easy it is to not be attacked by them. Alright, everybody relax. It's time to talk about one of the most annoying monsters in this entire game, who you will encounter incredibly often. Z-317, codenamed Infestation. Another primary reason I feel you should lower your sensitivity while playing this game. Infestation is an incredibly common occurring threat. While walking through the rooms with glass walls you will see out into the ocean, Infestation has a chance to appear in those windows. When it does, it'll slowly draw your camera towards it, and you'll have to fight to look away. If you make eye contact with Infestation, he will very quickly start to decrease your health. Pro tip for dealing with this guy: when he attacks, ignore everything in the room you're in and get to the door as fast as possible. When the door opens, Infestation will de-aggro, and then you'll be able to go back and search the room. An interesting way to tell if Infestation will spawn is based on what you see outside. Infestation won't spawn the moment you enter a room. Instead, it will wait a few seconds after you enter. If you see sea mines outside the windows, that lets you know that Infestation can't spawn in that room, and you'll be safe to look around for whatever you need. Z-96, codenamed Good People or Mask of Sadness, is one of my personal favorite monsters solely based on its mechanic. Occasionally, you will find rooms with multiple doors. Typically in a room, by each door there will be a small screen with a number displaying the next room's number. This acts as an indicator as to how many rooms you've been through on a given run. In which rooms with multiple doors, there will be multiple screens which seemingly give you a choice of which room you'd like to move into. However, in rooms like these, only one of the doors is real and the others are fake. Each fake door will have good people behind it. If you open a good people door, he will attack you and deal 55 damage, meaning if he gets you twice, you're Dunyan rings. There are a few ways to tell which doors are fakes. If you stand right off to the side next to a fake door, you'll be able to hear deep breathing or growling. This lets you know that that door is fake. Additionally, those screens I mentioned earlier, a fake door will have a screen that sparks from time to time. If you see sparks, stay away. Z-17, codenamed the Divine, are a common monster in Pressure. It took me a pretty long time to actually understand how they work while I was playing. Divine spawn in the Oxygen Garden and are docile. When you step onto the grass they're rooted into, they will become unrooted and quickly charge at you. If you manage to step off of the grass before they reach you, they will become rooted again and will stop pursuing you. These bitches deal a whopping 75 damage, so do your best to stay off the grass. The dev decided to not be a complete while designing these guys, however. If a Divine hits you, they will run back to where they were originally rooted and stay stationary for a few seconds before attacking you again. This gives you ample time to off, which I highly recommend you do. Z-566, codenamed Candlebearers. However, I didn't know their name while playing, so I just called this fella Connor. Something interesting about Connor. He originally came from a DLC, I believe, called The Raveyard, but he appears in the normal game too. I'm pretty sure he has slightly different mechanics in the Raveyard, but I didn't play the Raveyard, so shut up, we'll be talking about him in the normal game. Connor f***ing hates lights. Despite his head being a lantern, Connor will spawn in dark rooms and will pursue players who have light sources. If you shine a light source at him, he will freeze in place. But if you shine a light at him for longer than 3 seconds, he will become enraged and much more aggressive. Fun fact, if you don't have any light source on your player at all, Connor will spawn but never activate. He'll just kinda stand there. Another fun mechanic to note, if Connor is chasing you and you drop all of your light sources on the floor, he will stop pursuing you and won't ever continue unless you pick your lights back up again. Additionally, if the emergency lights in a room turn on, Connor will also be unable to move. On a side note, if I was into shipping characters, I would definitely ship myself with Connor. I feel our love would be passionate, but also incredibly violent. He was actually the cellmate that I signed up to get away from. Slippery Sea, that's what we called him in prison. I heard once that one dude he was with was rushed to the hospital for a shattered pelvis. You do the math. Z-583, codenamed Abstract Art, aren't threats, but are still labeled monsters. You wanna know what they do? Wanna take a wild guess? Chase you. You know, you'd think they'd do something like that, but no. No. Instead, they stand there and do nothing at all. That's it. Nothing special to talk about. Occasionally, a bunch of them will spawn in a room together, but no, they don't do anything. Moving on, I suppose. Lamels, codenamed Bottom Feeder, side note, I have no idea why this monster didn't have a number name, but whatever, is a main threat in an area of the game called the Dredge. The Dredge is an area that's pretty much flooded all the time, by the way. That's important, so I thought I'd let you know. When you step into the water, Bottom Feeder will emerge somewhere in the room and start to chase you. If it catches you, you'll be forced into a minigame like Pandemonium does. This minigame consists of you spamming your poor little Q and E keys as fast as you can. While in this minigame, Bottom Feeder will continuously deal damage to you, and if you fail to complete the minigame before you die, well then, you f***ing die. I don't know what else to tell you. Let me tell you something super awesome, and I want you guys to comment below if you've experienced the same super awesome little thing. In the water, there are several objects that go above the water like desks. You're supposed to be able to climb on top of them to de-aggro Bottom Feeder. However, something super awesome I noticed is that I can't f***ing climb onto these objects at all. Seriously, I don't know if there's a button I'm supposed to press that I'm not pressing, but I seriously have never been able to climb onto any of the objects needed to avoid this douche. What I always ended up doing was just trying to make it to the end of the dredge section as fast as I could. I'm pretty sure Bottom Feeder is slightly faster than you, so if there's a long segment of water with no brakes, then unless you can figure out how to get on top of shit, you're kinda just done for. Please, let me know I'm not the only person who struggled with this. I'm begging you. Onto a monster I've never encountered throughout any of my playthroughs, we have Z-90, codenamed Wall Dwellers. Whenever you enter a room for the first time, a wall dweller has a chance to spawn inside of it, and will be camouflaged inside of the wall. They will slowly and quietly emerge from the wall and approach the player. If they get too close, they will, and I quote, kick you to the ground and rip out your neck, killing you. Holy shit, that's a crazy way to die. If you spot a wall dweller before it gets you, it will screech and run away. Afterwards, it can start to pursue you again and again and again. If you need an analogy, if a wall dweller was a starving baby, you'd be the milk. You tall glass of milk looking ass. If a node monster like an angler comes through a room with a wall dweller inside, you'll be able to pick up a dweller chunk because I guess the dweller f***ing died. Perfect. I wonder if this dweller chunk item will come back to rail me in the ass. Deep sea bunnies, codenamed nothing because they're just called deep sea bunnies according to the wiki, are uncommon monsters. What do you think when you hear uncommon? Do you think super f***ing rare, or do you think uncommon? Maybe I'm the unluckiest human being on the face of the earth, but I've played this game for hours while working on this video, and never once did I stumble across these little guys, and I really wanted to, so I'm pissed. Anyways, what do? Deep sea bunnies have their own room dedicated to them. A bunny room will have 2 to 4 bunnies inside. These bunnies aren't directly hostile, and I'll explain what that means in a second. You are actually capable of trading with these little dudes. Don't ask how, just accept it. I tried my best to find a trade table that these guys have, but as far as I'm aware, there isn't one that's public as of writing the script. But basically, you give a bunny an item that you have, they'll give you another totally random item. Now, I said they weren't directly a threat, and that's because on rare occurrence, these cute little tiny innocent and defenseless guys can return a fucking activated landmine when you trade with them. Why? Why do they have a landmine? And a landmine that's activated at that? I have no idea. When they give you this landmine, they will f***ing explode and die. We have terrorist, suicide bombing bunnies in this bitch. Why are we worried about finding a crystal? Talk about not having our priorities straight, am I right? Oh yeah, and as the icing on the cake, if you were planning on trading with each bunny, if the first one gives you a landmine, not only does it kill itself and deal 50 damage to you, it can also kill all the bunnies around it. So, me, right? You can actually guarantee a landmine trade if you give the bunny a Necrobloxicon, a Gravelight, or a Dweller Chunk. The Dweller Chunk did in fact come back to rail me in the ass. The final normal monster to talk about is Mr. Loopy. Mr. Loopy isn't as much of a threat as he is a safeguard. If you ever fall off of the map or fall too far behind from the rest of the group in a multiplayer run, Mr. Loopy will jump scare you and teleport you to the most recent room, and additionally deal 1 to 99 damage to you at random. Considering how infrequently you'll be able to fall off the map, he's really only ever a threat in multiplayer, and even then, as long as you're not the slowest human being on the face of the planet, you'll be just fine. There are also 6 incredibly rare monsters that can spawn while playing, all of which I never encountered. I will go over all 6 very quickly. Rapid round! A-60, codenamed the Multi-Monster, is just another angler variant that's really fast. The Educator is literally just Baldi from Baldi's Basics that's activated after pressing a very rare evil button. He chases you just like Baldi chases you in his game. J-123-4, codenamed the Man from the Mindscape, is a completely non-hostile monster that has a 1 in 500 chance of appearing every time you open a door. He will appear for 1 second and then disappear. Harbinger is a monster that only appears in the endless mode of the game. He's another angler variant that forces you into a longer and more difficult Pandemonium minigame. This minigame is actually so hard that upon inevitably losing to it, the game will give you a free revive. Styx is just a jump scare monster that has a 1 in 10,000 chance to appear every time you open a door. It deals no damage. And finally, Stan, who is just a character that stands there and his document is a f***ing drawing. Alright, we got through all of that. God, talking about all those took a while, huh? Well, now I still have to actually talk about the game. There are other non-hostile characters in Pressure, and I suppose I should talk about the character that everybody loves to goon over. I've been holding it off for as long as I could, but I can't continue the video without mentioning the man, Z-13, the emo sea snake, Sebastian Soloulless. Sebastian is hands down probably the best character in this entire game, and I think almost everybody agrees with me on that. On top of being the player's main ally throughout the game, he also has probably one of the coolest bits of lore, and has his own shop that you can use in your runs. First, I'd like to talk about his shop, however. Between rooms 47 and 53, Sebastian's shop will spawn. You're actually unable to skip his shop, as the door to the next room will require a keycard, and the only way to get the keycard is to enter his shop. What a businessman. Why worry about trying to reel them in when you can just force them in, right? Sebastian's shop will have 5 items at random, consisting of a flashlight, code breacher, lantern, flash beacon, medkit, black light, dweller chunk, sprint, and perithis. I don't fucking know what it's called. Batteries, a hand-cranked flashlight, and Sebastian's document are items that will be there 100% of the time, every single time you visit. And on very rare occasions, his shop can have the Necrobloxicon, Gummy Light, and Grave Light. Notice that Sebastian sells you all 3 items that will guarantee a sea bunny to blow itself up when traded with. So, thanks Sebastian, I guess you hate small and cute animals too. Fun fact, if you flash a flash beacon at Sebastian, he'll pick you up and slam you against the floor, dealing 50 damage to you and breaking the flash beacon, so that's pretty cool I suppose. Now for something really interesting that Sebastian does. Every time you die, Sebastian will show you a document relating to whatever killed you. He'll also tell you how garbage you are at the game, but that's not important. Every time you die to a monster, he will reveal more and more information about said monster, which is actually how you learn how to deal with each enemy. Now, I've seen games have mechanics like that before, where dying explains why you died. But the way Pressure did this exact same mechanic makes it feel so much more special and impactful. I love it. So, what else is standing in our way of grabbing the crystal we need to become a free man? Well, up until room 60, you really only have to deal with the monsters and Sebastian's sass. But between rooms 60 and 80, you'll get contacted by the prison guards, telling us we need to fix some shit before we can continue moving forward. Apparently, a bunch of generators powering the place got smashed to shit, and it's our job to fix them. To fix a generator, you have to play a minigame. A small line will rotate in a circle, and you need to stop it in a given area. This is actually one of my favorite games to play at arcades, because I'm actually the god of timings. Anyways, after we fix a few, we enter a large room, and holy fucking shit, what the fuck is that? Oh damn, it just sucked that dude up! Alright, shit, it looks like it's boss encounter time. The thing up there is called Vultus Luminaria, also dubbed Searchlights. Searchlights is a large whale, aka your mom looking like creature, with 4 large searchlights that scan the area for any living thing. Boy, it really makes you wonder where they got the name Searchlights from, huh? To survive the encounter with Searchlights, you have to fix a certain number of generators while Searchlight scans the large room looking for you. The number of generators increases the more people that are playing. After you fix each generator, the large door to the next room will open and you can sneak your way through to continue to the final rooms. This boss encounter is honestly so cool and was such a fun surprise. While hiding from Searchlights isn't hard because there's so many crawl spaces and lockers to hide in, the intense music that plays while you complete the fun generator minigames makes this honestly one of my favorite sections in the whole game. The only problem I have with fixing the generators is how long the animation is after you complete the minigame, especially when you're a cocky fuck like I am. I've definitely gotten myself killed more than once gambling on how long that animation would take. Another super interesting encounter while playing has a chance to not even happen. I've made it to the end of the game quite a few times, and I actually only ever encountered this area once, that area being the airlock. This area in the game allows you to explore Hadal Blacksite in open water, which, as someone who has a deep and terrible fear of natural bodies of water, this part was definitely more difficult for me than other sections. The airlock has a unique encounter, that being the Trench Bleeders, which are giant-ass robots designed to gather valuable materials from the abyss. According to the game's lore, there are 4 operational Trench Bleeders, those being named Leon, Rose, River, and Lucy. Lucy will be important later, so keep her in mind. While swimming through the abyss, you have to follow several green flares that are littered throughout trenches to keep yourself safe from the Trench Bleeders. Remember that these things are fucking enormous. They move very slowly, but if you get underneath them, you're gonna be a pancake, and these bitches is hungry for pancakes, and the syrup is your G juice. That's disgusting. I'm sorry. After safely making it through the airlock, we're ready to make it through the remainder of the rooms and grab the poop crystal. As we approach the crystal room in the ridge, we're told by the prison guards that the crystal is powering the facility we've been walking through, and that after taking it, all the lights and power to the facility will go out for a while until a backup generator kicks in, which will leave us incredibly vulnerable to all of the monsters inside. Knowing that, we grab the shard crystal, and as previously stated, all the power goes out, but we're still surprised for some reason. All we have left to do now is to make it to the submarine, and it's freedom time. When I tell you that the rest of the game from this point forward is pretty fucking difficult, I'm either a bitch and bad at this game, or I'm lying. We have to travel a very far distance to an airlock area. Throughout this long travel distance, you will encounter several monsters, and very frequently. You're probably going to get an angler variant attack at least once a minute. Anglers killed me more in this final stretch than any other enemy ever had. Once we make it to the airlock point, we're told we have to go back into the abyss and fix multiple underwater cables in order to get the external repellent system back online so that we can leave. We enter the abyss, and what do we see? Oh god damn it, another searchlight! That's right, we have another searchlight boss encounter, this time being underwater. But what's this? Lucy is also here. Remember that trench bleeder I told you to remember? Yeah, here she is, and she actually illuminates the area so that you can see. Isn't that so thoughtful? Something I immediately noticed in this section is that there's no animation that takes 400 years to complete after fixing a cable, which just made me smile from ear to ear and start kicking my feet and shit. There are only 3 cables to fix, so what could possibly be difficult about this? Well, after every cable you fix, another searchlight will spawn and start looking for you. This can get pretty stressful trying to dodge and weave between lights while also focusing on fixing the cables. But once you fix all 3, you have to retreat and swim through a cave, dodging one last searchlight, and finally, as we make it back to the facility, Lucy goes apeshit and stomps on the final searchlight. Shout out to a brother Lucy, am I right or am I right? After exiting the airlock, tired and scared, shaking in our boots, shivering in our quivers, battered and bruised, we make it back to a submarine, get inside, and return to the surface, return to safety, and finally, pressure comes to a close. In all honesty, I could make this video 3 hours long, and I still don't feel like I'd be able to do it justice as to just how good this game really is. You actually need to just play it for yourself. Look at how long this video is already, and I didn't even talk about the lore, which, by the way, is also phenomenal. There are several videos on YouTube that could describe this story in much better detail than I ever could. I highly, highly recommend you give this game a try. I can promise, if you like hearing about the games I talk about, you'll enjoy playing Pressure. I've had so much fun with this game, and I understand why I was recommended to play it by so many people. The developers of this game need an award. This game seriously competes with many other non-Roblox indie horror games, and I feel like it actually beats out a lot of them. The amount of effort, care, dedication, and detail that have been put into this game is rivaled by very little. Every single time you play it, it will feel like a totally different experience that you just keep getting better at. And I don't think I fully have the vocabulary to describe that. But let me know what you think. Do you think Pressure is as phenomenal as I do? Is there something really big and important I missed? I know you guys love to point out things I didn't mention, so have a field day with me in the comments and let me know what you thought of the video. The question of this video is, what Roblox horror game would you like to see me cover next? I've personally been looking at Doors and Dandy's World, but I've also been told they're very similar to Pressure, so I'm curious to hear what you guys think. I hate calls to action, but the last one actually did really well for me. So if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel for more content just like this, and feel free to donate to the Patreon for uncensored and early access to videos if you've got some disposable income in your wallet. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you all so much for watching the video, and I'll see you all in the next one. See ya!